Attendees are in listen-only mode.
This is Dr. Richard Barwell, and welcome back to the program. The last time we talked about how to enroll patients beyond pain relief, and this time I want to talk about how to increase your scope of practice. With that last time, you probably realized, if you've listened to it, this is like drinking from a fire hose. It's 95 miles an hour. But the nice thing about it is that you can listen to it many times, and I just want to get as much information to you in this short 20 minutes that I possibly can. Last time we told you about first thing you have to do is change the intent of your practice from pain relief to improve neurological function, and that has to happen between your ears. You have to recognize that that's where you really come into your own as a chiropractor. If you're just working on pain relief, while we've done a good job with that over the years, it is so limiting in the concept of what you have to offer. We showed you how to use the biochart and how to improve communication skills to add the value to your care. And that's the key issue with this, is getting you to understand that there's an increased value of your care and what you have to offer, and getting you to then be able to communicate that to the patient so that they enroll in a different level. We gave you proof that the current medical thinking wasn't working, and there's a new direction for patients to engage in care in your office. But this week I want to focus on where these challenges are in making these shifts and how to change your language. That's the important part about the communication skills, is how you communicate directly with them. Also, I want to make a point that we're no longer limited to back and neck pain type practices. And what happens with this is when you start to make this transition, you'll start to recognize that there's a difference in the patients that start coming in to see you till finally down the road. And it may take 6 months, it may take 3 months, it may take a year, depending on how well you implement in your office, that all of a sudden you'll recognize that people are coming to see you not because of pain relief, but for other reasons, such as, I want my health back, I want to feel better, I want to have more energy, I want to live longer. And that's exciting when that happens, when you get a chance to look back. So, what we're going to look at is talk about how the current thinking evolved and its restriction in thinking. You know, as a profession, we started out with a wide open scope of practice. We were taking care of people to get them better. We weren't talking about specific things like pain relief. What happened? Something happened along the way to change the direction of the profession. And you know, the problem was this, that the basic theory of vertebral subluxation and nerve root compression was a great concept over 100 years ago when we didn't have any other knowledge. It led us to at least carrying on a profession. And it has a very important historical role in this. But the problem is this, as this profession continued to grow and develop, we were called to prove that what we said really was happening, and we couldn't. There was no proof that that's what was going on. And because of that, now the profession started to back away from that concept totally, but they had nowhere else to go. And so as the profession grew, the demands for acceptable proof got stronger and stronger and stronger on the associations and on the educational system. And it moved away the only direction it could possibly move at that time to continue to have acceptance, especially at our university and our chiropractic college levels, was towards the physical medicine explanation. But in doing so, we sold our soul. And the intent of chiropractic care moved from neurological to structural to posture to joint mechanics, and you start to see what happens. If every step of the way along that little gradient, we restricted our scope of practice. We started shutting it down more and more and more because we fell into that role of we needed to have some sort of proof, and the only thing going on out there was what was happening in physical medicine. The worst thing that happened was the third-party pay that set up with medical billing codes. So chiropractic was now forced to restrict its therapy to those codes. And when that happened, we moved even further and further and further into that specific level of treatment for a disease that limited our scope of practice. Every education system in the Western world is driven by that medical model, and that's all the people know. They don't know anything else. So all's well and good, but it depends on who's asking when we start to say, what we need proof. Well, the only way we get proof is to do the scientific method. And the scientific method was, of course, developed by medicine. And it was directed especially towards things like drugs, and they called for things like double-blind studies that are the so-called gold standard. Well, they're not. I mean, even now the scientific research world says, well, the double-blind studies all depends on who asked the questions and how the questions are asked and who's paying for it. And they can set it up any way they want. And so now that's been discredited. And it gets even more discredited when we start talking about the current concepts in health and quantum physics that play a role in all of this. And it does play a major role in health. So Big Pharma has exposed the failure of the scientific method because of their influence with money and direction, and we know that most of the drug, I mean, you have to have a 30% success rate to get a drug approved. 30%, 70% failure, but it's okay. That's where the problem has come into play. And as long as we play in that field, we're going to continue to restrict who we are and what we have to offer. Okay, next thing is, I could have been doing this all the way down. I just got so carried away talking with you. So the influence of Big Pharma, we see, where's the alternative view to this? Nobody's getting the alternative view to that scientific method. You need to be the ones talking about it in your office. And so if the intent of care is based on symptom reduction in Big Pharma and in medicine, and we play in that game, guess what? That's why we were reduced to that pain-based practice. That's where we sold our soul. We need to turn it around. Society's thinking, how has this model influenced the world? Well, the herd instinct is at play here. And basically, if you're not part of the herd, you become a danger to it. And we have been attacked and attacked and attacked because we have constantly represented a different way of thinking, and they don't like that. And especially when the whole education system is now based on this. And we're taught that the majority of us are taught that medicine has all of the answers. And so there's a level of resistance to change out there in society. They don't want to move away from this because they don't want to be somebody that's on the other side of the coin. The majority of thinking is ruling us. Then they play the discredit game. So we then went from being just somebody that was opposing this to they had to try to discredit us. And that went on forever and ever, and they got caught with it with the Wilkes case. And you need to have that information available. That's why I put it in my book. People need to know that the medical profession lied and cheated and continued to lie and cheat even though they were found guilty in court. Because we need to discredit. Now, when you discredit somebody, this isn't discrediting a personal medical doctor. Do not make it a personal attack. What you have to do is you have to discredit their position, their level of authority. That's what you have to discredit and say, you cannot believe everything that you see. You cannot believe the TV shows where the medical doctors find the cure within an hour every time. It's like, no, that's not the way it is. And so you have to establish your own authority. And when you do that, you have to have information that backs up what you're willing to say. That's why we do things like the NBC calls with our program. Every month you get access to research and data that supports what we're doing and also offers information that discredits the belief system that medicine has all the answers, that there has to be a different way of looking at it. You get, we've got a book list that you can get and read, and you can have the books in your library, in your audience for your patients to be able to take out. We had an incredible library in there, and we had to make sure they brought the books back because it was just, people just took them. I mean, that's how much they're after this information. So you need to be able to provide that authority and offer objective proof and not just a story. Two mindsets. There's two mindsets involved in this, the pain relief practice, and then we're dealing with the wellness concept. And here's the problem with this. With this mindset that we have right now in the profession, we've got people out there trained to come in for pain relief, and we've got doctors in chiropractic that really want to offer wellness concepts. And they are not congruent in their approach to what they're looking for. We want them under lifetime care. They just want to get pain relief. And if you don't make that transition with them, you're going to end up with a problem. Now, you have to meet them where they are to begin with and then slowly shift their consciousness. So the intent versus reality. The patient's intent, I want pain relief. The reality is they're going to leave as soon as they get that. The doctor's intent is for an ongoing relationship with that patient to keep them well and get their families well. The reality is, what is the patient going to make that decision and that judgment on in your office? You have to have a transition. Don't expect just because of your holiness of being in your office is going to create a change in their mindset. They need information, and they need a lot of it, and they need to have it replaced and replaced, because remember, they're going back out and they're reading about this medical point of view and hearing it on TV all the time. One of the biggest problems we have in the profession is the bait and switch. Well, they come in for one problem, we try to switch them into another thing and sign them up for something they don't want, and we sell this big time to them, and that's where we run into a problem. And that's what the last session was all about, was talking about, instead of doing the selling to the lifetime, what you need to do is you need to enroll them in something of greater value for them. And we have it. We just don't talk about it on that basis. Saying, great, we can get you what you want. We can help you with your problem. We have research that shows that your challenge is a chiropractic challenge and does a good job with that. But guess what? We have way more to offer than just that. So let's first of all get you what you're looking for and make sure that you have information to make a decision, an informed decision about the value of chiropractic beyond getting rid of your pain. That's the difference between selling versus enrollment. Now, specific goal setting, that's what I just talked about. The first time that they come in, what you need to do is have that specific goal to say, here's what we're going to do. We're going to get you your pain relief, and what we want to do, the next step is we just want to get it past that pain relief to a stabilization. So we start to address what's causing this, not just get rid of your pain so that it comes back, because we haven't addressed the cause. We want to address the cause. And once we do that, once we can show that we're getting some stabilization in this, then guess what? We're going to talk to you about what other options you have past that. So you're not selling them the whole enchilada up front. You're only selling them that first step so they can understand what's going on with this. And they're going to enroll on that basis. But they will not go past that if you try to sell too much. And that's what the whole problem with the profession has been, with getting people past their certain pain relief problems. We need to get them moving past this concept of wellness into, okay, wellness doesn't mean anything. What we want you to do now is, we've got you stabilized. We can still show you objectively that your nervous system isn't working right in these areas. So the next level would be, we're going to really focus on getting those particular areas where your nervous system is still out of balance back into balance. That's the specific goals, and that's why we don't use wellness anymore. We use the concept of peak performance training. Now, when the patients do this, we have congruency. We have a congruency within what the doctor is looking for and what the patient is looking for based on information. That's what you have to do this. The pain relief practice has a high demand for new patients. It's got a high cost of recruitment. It is the most energy draining, and I can remember this so well of going along in the practice and it's going good, and then you notice there's a bit of a slowdown going on, and you realize that you've dropped off in your number of new patients. So what do? You go panic mode, got to get some more new patients in here, and you zoom back to get the new patients, and you put all your energy into putting on some sort of program to get new patients in, and you forget to do the training. And so, you know, it's one side or the other. No, you need to have this thing in balance, and once you do this, once you have your intent in place, and the patients understand the intent, and they can go out and they can show their friends that this is a higher value care in your office than any other office they've been in, and we get this all the time with NBC NeuroInfiniti offices. We get, why didn't my previous chiropractor tell me this? Because they didn't know and they didn't do it right. The patients now start referring in patients for major problems that you're going to start to see in your office. Not back pain and neck pain. You're going to start to see sick people. The cost of recruitment is going to go down because it's the best way you can get new patients is inside the office, not going outside and doing advertising to try to keep new patients going. Not only that, the pain relief practice is constant complaints. It's all about pain relief. So all day long you have to listen to, it hurts right here, doc, or you didn't get it last time, doc, or gee, I'm still not feeling better, doc. and it's constant complaints, and that wore me out in practice. I just got so sick and tired of it. Not only that, because we only took care of pain relief, guess what? The problem came back. And they came back in with the same problem. So you got to listen to their whining and their complaining all over again, the second time, third time, fourth time. Only what was happening was, over the years, they continued to get worse because the cause of the problem was never addressed in the first place. And people go like, well, then I won't have people coming back in. Oh, they'll come in because once I start to recognize that they don't have to get into that problem area with pain first, they can avoid even having that happen to them and have their lifestyle improve. Guess what? They start to stay on care saying, I'm not going to take the chance of that happening again. I'm really feeling good. Short-term scheduling. You can only schedule for the time that they have the pain. And once they have the pain, they're gone. Either they're gone happy without pain or they're gone unhappy with still having the problems. And that's part of the challenges that happen with this pain relief. It's a time factor. You have to spend more time with people that are in pain than you do with people that aren't. The advantage, pain relief practice, low cost of education. You don't have to invest in educating them because they're just going to come in when they have problems. Insurance coverage. And we know today that most practices, I tell you, it drives me crazy. Well, they say, well, I have to do this. I have to take care of it because the insurance will only cover it. Well, you know what? Guess if you get the right information going to these people, they will stay beyond their insurance coverage because they're looking for a different outcome. The insurance may cover the first part of it to get them out of pain, but then when you can say, okay, at this point now we've got your car fixed up, but now we've got to maintain it. The same with your body, we've got it fixed up, now we have to maintain it. And you know, this is the problem, is they fix it sort of mentally. They say, well, pain's gone, so I must be okay. The disadvantage, patients will never know what you truly have to offer in your office. To me, that's the saddest part of all of that. They really don't get to understand the true power of chiropractic. They don't get to recognize the miracles in their life, to what chiropractic can offer to them. Limited and high cost of collection. That's the disadvantage of this. Jeepers. Your collection happens with cash. That's your high cost of collection. How about that? But with the disadvantages with pain relief, now you've got to hire somebody to go after the insurance companies, and oh my gosh, you've got real problems on your hand trying to collect from insurance companies. Incomes are tied to visits only, and they need a medical diagnosis for their pain relief practices. And that's where the problem comes in, and it limits who you are and what you have to offer. It limits it to signs, limits care to signs and symptom relief. Welcome to the practice of medicine that we've all walked into. You're going to have some courage and step out of this. You're going to have to get past the concept that chiropractic cannot exist past insurance coverage. It can, and it exists very well, and it has more to offer than any insurance company. Peak performance practices, long-term care plans. You will start booking your schedules ahead, and you'll see greater times of filling in of your. I loved it when I started to get this concept in my practice. I could turn my appointment book 6 months ahead and see pages that were half booked for the day 6 months ahead. And then it started to get to 8 months and 12 months. We started booking people on year care, not because they were in pain, but because they wanted to stay well. And they got it. They understood. Reduced reoccurrence. We kept people from getting in trouble. Benefits in other areas of their life started to improve. They started to be able to do things. Practice stability. The practice income stayed at the same level, and I could look ahead and go like, oh my God, I don't have to worry next week because it's already booked next week. It happens all the time. Less time per visit. It takes so much less to take care of people that are doing well than it is to try to fix them up. You know, it's like the car. We can change the oil now and then and keep it running well and keep it tuned up, or we can replace the engine, which means your car's going to be in the shop for a week. It's the same thing with people. And so my time limit went down, which meant I was able to see more people. The disadvantage, you have a practice that is full every day. That's what you will build towards. If you don't believe me, what you need to do is get on our Facebook site and take a look at the comments that are going on by people that are doing this in their practice. And we just say, Tell the story. Tell your truth of what's happening. Go ahead and put it on there. And you'll see this. Their people's practices have exploded. Not only from the people that are going from, like seeing 12 visits a day to seeing 30 visits a day, but people that are also seeing, like, are you ready for this one? 500 patients a day going to 600 patients a day. We actually have seen that happen with doctors. Yes, there's doctors out there that see 600 patients a day. That doesn't mean you have to do that. You just don't understand the system that they're using to be able to do that. You think it's maybe not something you can do that's possible. Maybe not for you. But that's what happened with them when they changed their concept and they changed the intent. And they brought the NeuroInfiniti and the concepts of neurologically based chiropractic in their office. Incredible. Just absolutely incredible. Gee, the disadvantage, you're kept busy. You don't have the slack times to go and play solitaire in your computer. Sorry, that's the disadvantage. What type has the most most benefits? Well, you figure that one out. Which type has the most benefits? Benefits for who? Benefits for the patient and benefits for the doctor? It is absolutely that open scope of practice where we get away from pain relief only and you start to see the benefits of changing your intent. Does the DC really want a long-term relationship practice? Because I want to tell you something, that's what happens. You'll start to see these same people over years and years. You'll see their families. You'll see their kids and their grandchildren. And you become part of that family membership. And it's really, do you really want to have that? Or are you a DC that just wants to work in the emergency ward? Well, I'll tell you what happens in the emergency ward in hospitals. You take a look at the staff in the emergency wards of hospitals. They love that adrenaline pump, but you cannot do it forever. It will burn you out just like that high pain level practice will burn you out as well. So it's really a challenge on that. The next thing is pain. Huge effect in attracting new patients. Peak stress lies in the education of patients. There's the difference in this. If you have a pain-based practice, you have to really work at attracting new patients. If you want to have a peak performance, you need to take a look at what are you doing in your office as far as education. And yes, that's the area that you have to improve. And I hear chiropractors hyperventilating and passing out thinking that, oh my God, I'm going to have to put on a class. Yes, you may have to put on classes. The good news is we already have those classes designed for you. You can literally just read right off of the slide. You don't even have to memorize it. Bring the patients in, you sit them down, and we have a way to get them in the office. I had a very successful way of getting patients into my office for the care, for their classes. Number one, that was part of their care plan. It was scheduled as part of their care plan. Number two, we booked them at the time of a visit for the care, for the program, for the educational class. So they came in to get an adjustment, and they spent an extra 20 minutes to half an hour to an hour, depending on what we wanted to do, in that room getting their education, so that when I asked them to make a decision, they were already had the information to make the right decision. That's that's called Socratic leadership. You lead by asking questions, and you ask questions that makes them go duh, and you get them to say the correct answer. And when they say the correct answer, they get it. What is a DC's ultimate goal in practice? What are you really looking for? You have to define what kind of practice you want. You get to make the choice. You get to make that exact choice. How to make the shift? Change the intent. Start with the designing your own declaration of intent for your office. You want to open up your scope of practice. You truly want to see people that are beyond this pain challenges. Maybe they have multiple sclerosis or cancer or diabetes, or they don't even know what they've got at this point. And your job now says, what do I want to do? My intent would be to improve the neurological response of everybody in my community, to make them be able to adapt to the stressors in their life. Those are the kind of things that you have to have down as your intent for your practice. And you need to do a declaration of intent. We call it a DOI. And it starts this way. Key question. Why are you doing what you do in your office? Why are you even there? So what we need you to do is now get ideal words that would form the heart of your practice. And you get your staff involved with this. And you just sit down and you say, what words would reflect my true meaning for my practice? If I could have my perfect ideal practice, what words would I use to describe it? And you just start coming up with key words. You write them down on a whiteboard. Everything that comes out, you write it down. And then you check through and see if there's any words that are copies of that word or have a similar meaning. And you then get out dictionaries. And I'm telling you, this works if you will do it. You need to find out what those words truly mean to you. And you need to get dictionaries out and look up more than one dictionary. Look up the meaning of the word and pick the meaning that suits you the best for that particular word. And then when you've done that, what you need to do is you put it together. Make sure that everything that is done, used, or hung supports your DOI. In other words, like this. You got the words, you put them into a paragraph. That paragraph, you read that paragraph out, and now that reflects exactly what you want to have happen in your office, what you are building towards for your lifetime in your practice. And when you have this, you can say, listen, we've got to get a NeuroInfiniti. Okay, does that further the intent of the office? Well, if we are neurologically based, we have to have some way of measuring that. So the answer is yes. We need to buy a big sign out front that shows a big bone. Does that reflect the intent of the practice? No, we're not structurally based, we're neurologically based. We need to buy a brain. You see how it helps clarify every action. That means whatever programs you're taking, whatever instruments you bring into your office, what equipment you bring into your office, the look of your office, the words that you use in your office, all of those things now reflect your direct and your important direct declaration of intent that you've built together with your team. If you do this, what is going to happen is you are going to change the people that are coming in and seeking you out. You're going to increase the scope of your practice. You're going to reach out into the community with chiropractic like it should have been from the last 100 years. We got off track. We started looking for the easy answer. We started looking how we were going to get paid by insurance, and we sold our soul. I'm asking you to get your soul back, please. Take a severe look at what you're doing in your office and what your message is. Get on board with us. This is the way to go. Is there anybody that has any questions or anything? And next time we're going to talk about the value of objective outcome measurements in practice and how all of this ties together. Anybody got any questions?
If you have a question, you can raise your hand through the control panel and I'll unmute you. Dr. Hancock?
I was just wondering if we have access to the slides and the recording from each of these webinars if we want to go back and re-listen.
Yes.
Absolutely. Good question. How you doing, Doc?
Doing great.
Good. Yeah, you having fun?
For sure.
Okay.
Excited about this stuff.
How's it going in the office? We've got people on this call that are just visiting and they've just their exposure to it. What would you say to them?
If they are thinking about it, I would suggest for sure doing it, taking the leap of faith. Amazing stuff. We're just starting to use it in the practice and really starting to change our language and change the image, I guess, of the practice, and we're excited about it.
Thank you. Keep going, and we're here to help.
And Dr. Christie, it usually takes me a day or two.
Yes, that's it?
Dr. Christie, it usually takes me a day or two to get the recording out, but I do send it out via email. And I also post it on the Facebook page.
Okay.
Anybody else?
Thanks, everybody.
All right, bye for now.